said, let's talk about the LSU defensive coordinator search, because when I look right now, I guess the question is, what would you, as a fan, like to see out of LSU as they look for the next D coordinator? Like, what parameters would influence the search? And as we get into it, does any of it even matter in terms of what we think? And I'll explain what I mean coming up. But look, I've been talking for so long here. Let me open it up to either of y'all. If you feel that you have any opinions as LSU moves forward into this D coordinator search, Musso, we'll start with you. What do you think? Like, what would you do if you were Scott Woodward or Coach Orgeron and you are allowed to conduct this search post Ryan Nielsen? What are the parameters that you're looking to fulfill?
I think you stay in the same vein that you've been in throughout the search, right? You want a guy who can teach to the players.
Yep.
So he gets what he wants, because you didn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
You want probably a younger guy, trending more towards the younger scale. I would say probably, 30s to mid-40s range there, I guess. Someone who can...
Which is in keeping with all their other hires from this offseason.
Someone who can relate to the players and the incoming players. Somebody with a clear vision for what they want and a vision that lines up with the coaching staff. You don't want two guys from opposite views coming in here and one philosophy trying to be forced upon the other, because that's just never going to work. You want somebody who's going to take advantages of all the resources that LSU has on campus to better prepare for football games.
So you're talking about the walkthrough room.
I'm talking about the walkthrough room.
Like, use the walkthrough room, please. That's why they installed it, Bo Pelini. Damn it. If people aren't getting your scheme, it's literally the perfect way to help them get your scheme.
So ultimately, and someone who can recruit. You want somebody who can recruit.
And so there you go. I mean, now
same vein they've been in.
And that all sounds great. And yeah, it's a lot of what even when Coach Orgeron talked about during the Pete's conference, right before the Pete's conference, where that's what he said, right? They want somebody with some presence who can communicate responsibility to the players, who the players are going to respond to. Now, I'm with you. I think youth is key in affecting, and kind of meeting those goals. And at this point, since the kind of home run hires are out the window, I personally would be willing to engage in more risk. And so I would be okay with a guy who's maybe not proven on the D1 level, on the NFL level. If you have a good young coordinator who's had success at a group of 5 school, maybe an FCS school, I don't know. I mean, that's a big jump. But I'm okay with engaging in some risk here and trying to give that opportunity to make the leap. Because if somebody's done it on a smaller scale and they've done well, I think there's a lot to be said for, first off, giving them a big break, right? If you give a guy a bit of break, he is going to be, you saw that with Pete's in his opening press conference. Like, you got the feeling that guy is fully committed to you. He is going to, if Jake Peetz does not work as offensive coordinator, it will not be for lack of trying, which you had an element of lack of trying on last year's staff, in my opinion, in certain spots. Scott Linehan, what did the passing game coordinator job really mean to him, right? Like, beyond, he's a competitor, and so naturally he wants to do good, and sure, he made good money with it. But, like, what did it actually mean to him? For Pete's, for Mangus, it means everything. I would look to do something similar with that defensive coordinator job. Give a guy that big break, because what you're going to hand him is more talent than he will inherit anywhere else. Eli Ricks, Derek Stingley on the edges, an entire D-line returning Adam Mason-Smith to the mix. The really good safeties coming in. Look, I still think the safeties that you have are much better than what they looked like last season. Like, you're inheriting a lot of talent. But here's where it gets interesting. You're also inheriting an unreal amount of pressure. And that, to me, is, like, for all the talk that we just engage in of what we would do and what we want to see out of a DC hire, honestly, quite honestly, none of it matters. Because you've already lost the press conference portion of this, right? Like, we talk about this idea of winning the press conference. You're not going to roll anybody out there that everybody's just going to all, like, 100% be on board with, like, oh, this is the guy, this is definitely going to work out. almost any guy you have now, because you missed on your top targets, almost anybody you bring in, a lot of people are going to turn their nose up at. And they're going to be like, oh, well, this guy doesn't deserve the LSU job, or he should do that, or he should do that. So ultimately, what this coaching staff has to do, they have to recognize that. And they have to say, okay, whatever, we lost the PR battle. I don't give a damn about the PR battle. Like, I know that there was a lot of Joe Barry talk. I think that ended up getting shut down. But, like, Joe Barry would not have gone over well. I don't think I would have liked a Joe Barry hire. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Because for Orgeron and company, the entire regime, and I don't think this is exaggeration, the entire regime rides on this hire. So, like, whoever eventually does accept this burden of responsibility is accepting far more than just a normal defensive coordinator position. You are quite literally accepting the burden of the current regime of LSU football. So, owing them, especially at this point, and really from the beginning, but especially now, they can't concern themselves with pleasing the public. They can't concern themselves with pleasing the higher-ups. They have to find the guy that they believe, out of all the options remaining, that in their heart of hearts, they've done their due diligence. They believe that guy is the answer, because their future is tied in directly with whoever it is success or lack thereof. So fascinating time for this defensive coordinator. And again, it's why you don't want to rush into anything, right? Prudence is your friend here. Yes, you're late in this process, but there's nobody else really looking anymore in this process, okay? So there's no artificial timelines speeding up the guys that you could be potentially interviewing. You must get this right. And the easy right answers just got taken off the table. And so now you got to get creative to try to find one. And I know where I would look, but it doesn't matter. All that matters is where Coach O and company looked, and they have to believe that they found their guy. We'll see who that ends up being. Yeah, Mark Cumbie, the Joe Barry hire was compared to Scott Linehan if it had happened. Yeah, I agree, right? That's the exact reason why I would have come in here and I would have not supported. But again, they think that's their guy. Go for it. Because honestly, it's their future that's tied to this hire, especially given the failures of recent memory. All right, when we get back here on OTBOT, we're going to talk Josh Allen, baby. And now he has changed quite literally the nature of what we know about quarterbacking in the NFL. And then we got Nick Underhill coming up at 9:30. Nick can give you a much more robust breakdown of the salary cap and what he thinks the New Orleans Saints should do in their immediate future. So all that's coming up here on OTBOT. Keep it locked right here on YouTube and on 104.5 ESPN.